I wanted to start because you have an insanely busy schedule with exactly when VIDA started to really take up some more of your days, and has that increased over time with the promotion putting on more shows and stuff? Does it take up more of your days now?
Yeah, great question to start with, mate. Yeah, it kind of has become like a full-time job for somebody that's already got a full-time job. So yeah, like I'll be honest with you, I walked away from fight promotions probably about like psychologically probably about 4 years ago, and then physically, like at the start of the pandemic, it was never like my goal to run events anymore. I wanted just to be 100% coach, and I thought by opening the gym, I'd put myself in a position where I could just be like a full-time coach and not have to like get other income sources and also I utilized a lot of the events in the area. But obviously when the pandemic hit and all the events went away, we put two events on in the pandemic. And then at the end of that, yeah, VIDA was kind of came on a 7 week turnaround. I needed some fights for my guys, and I couldn't find any locally. So we just put our own event on, like VIDA One. And I think because of the rise of Lewis, really, and what he's been doing on the event, and the way that he took the event to his hometown, it's like spawned into like a big apple now, mate, and it's become bigger and better. And I've got a lot of interest from it from here, from overseas, from other places and stuff like that. So yeah, it's become like an all-encompassing beast, really. I'm delighted, really, because all my guys, I was like, in the north, I would always suggest that FCC, UKFC were probably the leading organisations and stuff like that. But none of my guys want to go on there. They all want to fight on VIDA. So we're either doing something right or they just want to fight in Wivenshaw. So I'm not sure.
maybe. Yeah, that's very true. You mentioned Lewis then, who I know is coming back for. You've got two events coming up, right? Within a matter of days, right? Or is it a week?
Yeah. So it
Uh,
wasn't my intention to do two events in a week. I was approached by like a big name in boxing, and he wanted to do an MMA event, and he asked me to do it for him, and I agreed, and we got the date of bowlers, and he got an incredibly good deal. And then this guy actually is fighting the week before now, and he decided he didn't want to be involved in MMA because of the time, and he wants to come back to it next year. So I'd already done the fight card, and all of the fights were mostly from Manchester top team. So I was like, I'm going to keep this show together, and I'm going to put two shows in a week, and probably end Christmas with chronic stress. But no, they've all gone fantastic. Like the cards as well. I've had a few pullouts in the last 2 weeks, but when I've rematched them, the fights are just as good, if not better. So I'm delighted with, but where both cards sit right now, I'm delighted. Yeah.
It's very strange. Like I didn't know the story about how Lewis has kind of turned this into a full-time job for you, which I can't imagine many promotions have got a similar start
Yeah,
to
not
their life.
similar. But I've got like so many fighters that want to fight and be active. I've got like 90 fighters, and I'd suggest about 60 of them want to fight 3 or 4 times a year. So it's like quite a calendar to meet, and I'm here, there, and everywhere, and I want to kind of centralize that. So we're going to put on like our own events and congregate the cards from our gym and push it forward. So yeah, thank you, Lewis, giving me more work and everything like that. Just what I didn't need, mate. Yeah.
That's one of the things I noticed. I was flicking through your Instagram earlier, and it is literally like every post you're in a different country, different week, different fighter. So then to have all of the VIDA stuff as well is pretty insane.
That's actually part of the master plan, not to be in different countries. And if I am going to be in different countries, at least be in different countries with 6 fighters rather than 1. Like that's what's breaking my neck in the schedule. Because back in the day before COVID, you could go on a Thursday and come back on a Sunday, but that all changed. Like for Lerone's fight in Fight Island, we were in Abu Dhabi for 25 days for one fight, and then so after that, the calendar got a bit stretched, and I've spent a lot of time overseas over the past 4 years. So like looking to kind of marginalize that and just go for obviously the big events. Hopefully the UFCs and more UFCs and more Bellators, and then we're going to do our own events in like cooperation with some people, with other people, and we're going to take it to Europe, to continents, and everything like that. By the end of 2023, we'll hopefully have an event in Africa. I think that's already pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered. So it's going to be a crazy schedule, one I can manage myself rather than be like Prague 1 week, Barcelona next week, here, there. Like, so I'm actually in Prague at the moment, so I don't really get a breath at home. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned kind of like expanding into Europe there. So I wanted to talk about the Road to Venator thing that you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Can I get you to explain kind of what that is and how it came around?
Yeah, always had like a decent relationship with Venator since they came back. Obviously, a business partner of mine is Luke Barnett, and he was once like the champion there.
Yeah.
So I've already had a great relationship with the people that work there. We actually got them on UFC Fight Pass. So it just spawned into something else and all that. So that they're now on UFC Fight Pass, and they now send they have like, I guess, kind of like the Cage Warriors model, like, you know, where they have management and fighters, but they send their managed fighters to us. So they come and train with us in Italy. From Italy, they come train with us in Manchester and stay with us. So we've probably got like 5 of the guys from Venator now, and then some other things. So through that, the relationship just spawned really, and then they want to, yeah, to not like get ahead of myself. The plan is for them to come here in the summer of next year. So this would just be kind of a bridge to that. So like just introducing them to that the UK audience, and then bringing them in and bringing that through for next year. That's the plan anyway. We'll see how that unfolds.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you mentioned Cage Warriors there that've kind of done a similar thing with the US roster and the Europe roster, but to be doing it on a scale that started out as just something for your guys to stay active, to then have that bridge with a whole different set of guys, and you can kind of not
It's always the
only
way though. I've had these delusions of grandeur on projects that I think this is going to be massive, and it absolutely is a damp squib, like absolutely shits the bed. And then like these things that you just do on a whim and you don't have any expectations for, they like kind of spawn into like a whole different animal. So here we are, mate.
it just happens that way, especially in MMA. You know, you can't predict anything. So, but like I said, it's really cool to see a promotion that you didn't even think would turn into anything too big eventually turn into this thing where you're linked with another promotion. You can not only helps with the gym, I imagine, because you've got guys coming over like you said, but also it just helps UK MMA in that you've got this other
Yeah,
promotion that want to be a part of it.
and to be honest with you, like we're paying much more than the other local promotions and stuff like that because I want to have good fights, and I'm prepared to pay for those good fights. I can't slag everybody off for not paying the right amount of money and then try like pennies on the dollar myself. So I want to try and get other investment. That we've got an investment for next year. We're going to do 2 events in Marbella, and then 2 events in Manchester, and then hopefully a couple in Italy with Venator, and then maybe in Africa. Say like aiming to do like 8 events really. So I've got a full-time person that's just in charge of VIDA FC now. So that takes a lot of the workload of mine. It's like the boring stuff. I'll probably match the facts along with another guy, but they can do like the operational stuff and make sure everything's in line. So yeah, looking to again take it again to the next level, a bit more investment at the next level. And yeah, who knows what it might become. I'm a firm believer that the UK needs a big organisation, not just a big organisation, but a big organisation that pays fighters well, because the money then trickles down, and it's a top-down model really. And because like we have Bellator, but we might have them once a year in London, if that next year. Let's see. And then obviously have Cage Warriors who have monopolised the market and probably signed a lot of the better fighters in the nation and stuff like that. But like in terms of the money trickling down, it doesn't exist. So we need to kind of get some money centres in, and in order for the UK to compete at the top level, which I believe we can in terms of like the talent level that we've got, not just in Manchester but all over the nation, it needs money behind it. And there's no money in order for us to compete with America, which have all these organizations paying everything like that. Then we need to be able to have some money coming into it, and not for my guys, for the scene, for everybody to understand that this can be not just a hobby, but like a full-time pursuit. Because you can probably skimp and scrape for 2 to 3 years as a fighter. But after that, then you get a girlfriend, then you maybe get a kid, and all these questions start developing in your mind. And there needs to be some financial recompense because it's a very, very tough job.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Well said. I wanted to bring up something that you said to me just before we started recording that I didn't plan on talking about. I should make reference to the point this is completely away from VIDA because,
Yeah,
like you said, you do the matchmaking, some great fights on those cards, but that you love watching people who can't fight just as
yeah.
much as people who can fight.
Yeah, that's why I got into like my guilty pleasure. I just think as long as the competitive fights, it's say they've got the same level of experience, and they're just great, aren't they? Just actual fights. because people don't move the feet; they just throw punches, and they both get tired. And you get to see, like, what I like about fighting, you get to witness like human spirit, good and bad. Like, you see the best parts of people's personalities, and probably the parts that your friends and my friends that I've known 30 years, but I've never not seen in that realm, have hidden from me. Like, nah, I would never do that in that situation. I'm a bit tougher than that, and you should have seen the way I love with the guy. But ultimately, if they're like that, you just get to see a bit of human character. So now, and also, do you know, like, once you're with professionals, and it gets a bit serious. Like, my life's very. I think I'm not a serious person, to be honest. But my life's very serious because of the professionalism that we had to. And don't get me wrong, I can wear all hats, but I like having a good time. And to me, like, fighting sport competition is having a good time. So yeah, to see two people that, no, I won't say can't fight, but just the start of the journey is like 8 to 10 weeks in. Yeah, a lot of coaches, I see them on social media, they scorn like white collar fighters. Oh, these white collar fighters can have a fight. I think fighting's not for everybody, but it can be for everyone as long as the playing field's level. So why shouldn't someone be able to have 10 weeks training and go there and have a proper knock with someone that's also had 10 weeks training and stuff like that? Because you get to see the raw emotion of victories, and like, it's a lot of people. It's like, I always say it's like the World Cup final. So yeah, that's what I want to see. And also on VIDA events, we do have like a couch to cage. We have a couch to cage brand. So we do have like 12 weeks fights, and they're oftentimes like better received than some like low level professional fights. Like, sometimes much better fights than that. So yeah, that's one of my guilty pleasures, 100%.
I don't think it's too much of a guilty pleasure. I think pretty much everyone that got into fighting probably, you know, saw two guys throwing punches at each other who'd never thrown a punch before and thought, I gotta watch that, you know?
Yeah,
so
I don't know if
you've
seen
thing.
In Manchester, there's on YouTube, there's a YouTube channel called King of the Ring Manchester.
I know the one that you mean, yeah.
Yeah. I love watching that. Because it's just raw, it's raw, unfiltered. It's just two guys thinking, you know what, I can go have a fight. I love like like, for us at the highest level, you get offered a fight and you think, oh, I need 8 weeks. I could pretty much get on the phone and call someone who's not even been in the gym and say, there's a fight for you here, 2 days. Do you fancy it? And they'd be like, yeah, I'll do it. Do you know what I mean? So I like that part of the character as well.
Yeah. Again, we're gonna jump complete topics from people who have spent 12 weeks in a camp to elite level MMA athletes. Because I want to talk to you about Lerone Murphy, because what an incredible few years he has had, from, I feel like, being pretty underestimated by UK MMA in general to being one of the best fighters in UK MMA, if not one of the best fighters in his division for the last couple of years. Do you know roughly when Lerone is looking to get back in the cage? Because he does tend to have, unfortunately, because of COVID and because I think there were some issues getting him to Vegas, maybe, things like that. It does feel like we haven't seen him a whole lot, despite the fact he's exploded onto the scene in the UFC.
Yeah, well, it came up on my memories last week that it's been a year since he actually fought in the UFC. So yeah, it's a long time on the shelf, and no one's more disappointed than him. He just had a bit of bad luck this year. He had an injury in his upper body that cost him some time, and he was just rehabbing that and getting back in the gym. And then he had an accident. He got knocked off a bike, and it was quite serious, to be honest.
Yeah, I remember now. I remember.
The knock-on effect from that has been a bit longer lasting than he would have wanted. But now he's gotten the all clear. Now he's back in full training. He started 2 weeks ago, and yeah, we don't know when the Usman Edwards fight will be, but he's definitely gearing himself towards hopefully being on that card. But I'm sure the rest of the UK are desperate to get on that card too, especially considering it might even be in a stadium, and we're here in March, but I've since heard that it's going to be April. So yeah, that's really the time frame that he's working on. I think he's going to spend the rest of the year like getting his body into a fit state, and then hit the ground running in January and look to get out and have a busy 2023, like 3 or 4 fights. And I think one more win, he should be on the dance floor top 15, and at least to fight somebody in the top 15 if he's not already in there. So yeah, loads of relevant fights and loads of contenders have emerged in the past year since he's been away. But I don't really, I'm very biased, but I don't really see anybody that's better than him out there, to be honest. I've always had a mad vision in my head. He might even fight Arnold Allen for the title at some point. Excuse my battery dying, going 10% there. So right. Yeah, I had a thought in my mind that an everlasting one that he would perhaps fight Arnold Allen for the title. I just don't know why it's come from my head, and I spoke about it a few times. And again, he's a long distance away from that, and it's one fight at a time. But it'd be fantastic, wouldn't it?
I mean, makes sense. That's it. I'm going to be talking about that now every single time he fights Arnold Allen in the future, maybe.
But not even that we want to call Arnold out. He's like a friend of ours. I just see that the past with like me again. He's probably a lot ahead of Lerone, especially after his last performance, a win over Calvin Cater. He's probably 1 or 2 fights ahead, but I think that he's one of the best in the division, if not the best that's coming through. So I'd like to see him against Volkanovski at some point, and then hopefully in a year, 18 months time, we can have that discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's only natural, you know. Like it's rare that you get 2 guys from the UK that are both competing at that high level. You know, I think we were talking about it on our podcast about Jake Hadley and Mo Mokayev, about how it almost feels like so obvious to say they'll fight in the future, much higher up in the UFC, potentially with something on the line. But you know, we can dream. Like, you know, we want to see.
Yeah, I think the amount of times that was nearly matched on like the amateur circuit in the UK and stuff like that. Yeah, I think again, written in the stars that would happen on the big platform. So yeah, that'd be a top fight to watch, and I'm sure that the chirp before it's just entertaining, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Carl, thank you so much for your time. I know that you're insanely busy. Thank you for calling us all the way from Prague. So I hope that the shows will go well for you, the VIDA shows, and enjoy your watching people who aren't particularly great at fighting yet fight.
No, they're all great at fighting. So no, thanks for your time as well, mate. And I'm sure if anybody wants to watch the show or come to the show, there's tickets available online from the fighters. And also there'd be a pay-per-view stream, and it wouldn't be one to miss. On the 10th, we've got like maybe 12 pro fights, like a good, like I would honestly compare it to like a Cage Warriors S card, and then on the 17th we always got Lewis headlining and a nice undercard as well. So yeah, looking and like want to get down. I promise you, I assure you, you're going to see lots of future legends, people that are going to be in the UFC within the next 3 to 5 years.
Cool. Thank you so much, mate. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your trip in Prague.
Yeah, let's go, mate. Thank you.
Cool. See you later. Bye.